Good afternoon, and thank you for joining for another wildfire update. I'm Heather Fairbairn, and I'll be your moderator. Once again, we have a cast of folks who will provide an update on the response, and I want to thank each and every one of them for making the time to share what they know with Nova Scotians. Providing remarks today, we have Premier Tim Houston, Warden Eddie Nickerson, representing the municipality of the District of Barrington, Warden Penny Smith, from the municipality of the District of Shelburne. And of course, we've got the three amigos from the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables, Scott Tingley, Manager of Forest Protection, Dave Rockwood, Public Information Officer for the Shelburne event, and Dave Steeves, Public Information Officer for the 10 Talon event. We're also joined today by Elizabeth Kennedy, Director of the Water Branch, Department of Environment and Climate Change. Bill Lawler is back from the Canadian Red Cross, and we have Bob Robuchon, our resident warning and preparedness meteorologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada. Joining us for the Q&A portion, we have Erica Fleck, Director of Emergency Management with Halifax Regional Municipality, and Corporal Guillaume Tremblay with Halifax District Information Officer with the Nova Scotia RCMP. And with that, allow me to introduce Premier of Nova Scotia, the Honourable Tim Houston. Take it away.
Thank you, Heather. Good afternoon, everyone. The last 8 days have certainly been some of the most challenging times our province has seen, and there are many challenging days ahead for sure. There's still much work to do on the fires, particularly the one in Shelburne. But to those who are still evacuated, I want to assure you the focus is on getting you home. The professionals are working on getting everyone whose home survived back home safely. There are a number of factors involved in the decision to lift evacuation orders. First, the fire risk has to be controlled. Our teams and the weather are working on that. Once the fires are controlled, then they have to take a look at the physical risks that need to be addressed, like unsafe roads, wells, all these things have to be addressed. But the moment it is safe, the very moment it is safe, the municipalities will lift the evacuation orders. They'll do that working with DNRR and the other appropriate agencies. In terms of fighting the fires, the weather has helped. The weather has helped for sure, and the teams have shifted to more direct tactics. Last week, the focus was on air support. And as I said last week, the province had contracted water bombers from Montana to come and assist. But with the current weather conditions and with the shift to more direct tactics, the water bombers can't do their job, so they're sitting on the sidelines. And right now, another province desperately needs help, so we're lending these water bombers to Quebec. But when the weather clears and when we need water bombers, we can and we will recall them at any time. To those who have lost their homes, I'm so very sorry. We all are. We want to work with you to ease whatever stress we can. We're working on options for modular homes, and we're exploring all other solutions that come forward. Please reach out if there is anything you need that you're not getting, or if you have any ideas around housing. Please reach out on that. The focus is on that. There's many people looking at that. I am proud to announce today that the province will be matching donations to the Red Cross in support of wildfire relief efforts. These funds will go to families who need our help. And thank you to the federal government, who will also be matching donations. I know this support will make a difference. To the approximately 11,000 who have been able to return home, I know some of you have raised questions about well water at your homes. Wildfires can damage your well, or they can impact your drinking water if you're on a well. We want everyone who has been impacted by these fires to have safe well water as you return home. So the province is working with the municipality. We're working to get well water testing kits into your hands. All the fees to test your water will, of course, be paid by the province at this time. So starting tomorrow, testing kits will be available at the fire station at 2050 Hammonds Plains Road, at our Nova Scotia Environment and Climate Change regional offices in Bridgewater and Yarmouth. And we're working quickly on more locations where you can pick up those testing kits. Please keep checking novascotia.ca/alerts for current information on well water testing. Please only pick up one of these testing kits if you have a well and live in one of the affected areas that was evacuated by the fires. We want to get those tests through very quickly for people. So please only pick up those tests if you're in an area that's impacted and you're on a well. It's also critically important that you flush and disinfect your well before you test it. So please do not use a test kit on well water until you flush and disinfect your well. In the meantime, please use bottled water for drinking, brushing your teeth, and for your pets. But please keep checking Nova Scotia/alerts for current information on well water testing. To small businesses, last week we announced the $2,500 grant from the province to support you with urgent needs. Applications for that program open today. You can go to Nova Scotia/small-business-wildfire-relief program and find more information. We'll post that website in the comments or make sure it's available. Now I want to give you an update on the Highway 103 situation. This road is an important connection, but public safety is always the most important element in decisions to reopen a highway after a situation like this. The highway will only reopen when it is deemed safe to do so. And there's been a lot of analysis about whether the highway can be safely opened at this time. And as of right now, it cannot. The fire marshal has indicated that due to the evolving situation at the dump and other factors, it is just not possible to safely open the 103 at this time. When the fire marshal's office has determined that it is safe, it will be opened, but that's not now. We will continue to work with the fire marshal's office and the municipalities and the other agencies on this. When it does open, it could mean that there are escorts leading people. It might mean limited hours. But I tell you, it will mean whatever the fire marshal recommends is necessary to keep Nova Scotians safe. Finally, I want to remind everyone that even though it's raining, even though the weather is changing, and even though the fire situation has improved in this province, we're still at a high risk of fire. So do not burn. The $25,000 fine remains in effect. Starting today, people will be back in the woods, and it's just the start of the fire season. Folks, the fire season is really just starting. There will be more fires this season, but we can each do our part to limit the number. So please be careful and responsible, use common sense, and keep each other safe. Thank you, Heather.
Lots of great information there, Premier. Thank you very much. Now let's check in with Warden Eddie Nickerson from the municipality of the District of Barrington.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Premier Houston, and it's great to hear that your government is certainly stepping up to the plate and helping the people of Shelburne County. Thank you, Premier, for your government's continued commitment to Shelburne County, and it is greatly appreciated that the province will be picking up the tab on water tests and making water certainly safe for people returning to their homes. The weather certainly here continues to be in our favor with 90 meters of rainfall accumulating in the last 48 hours. The Barrington Lake Fire is still active and is only the remaining out of control fire in Nova Scotia. I'm certainly happy to report from the Barrington municipality's perspective, the fire hasn't grown in any significance in the last 24 hours. While conditions are improving, which we could not be more grateful for, we still have work to do and ground to cover. We've been able to demobilize a few crews, allowing them to get some much needed rest over the week of hard work. The volunteers here, the volunteer fire departments are just going continuously. So it's great to see those guys getting some needed rest. We are entering into a new phase of this wildfire situation that entails a gradual, safe return to homes and properties. A task force of 6 individuals from the province of Alberta has arrived in Nova Scotia to support us in this phase. We understand that community members are eager to learn of the status of their properties and homes. And we want to ensure that this can be done in a safe manner. If conditions continue to improve, residents and property owners should be hearing from us in the coming days on the status of their homes and or properties. We continue to deal with the construction and demolition site fire at the municipal construction and demolitions debris disposal site located at 1138 on Highway 103. The Premier alluded to that, and it is on fire, and we have professionals in here dealing with that, and hopefully we have a quick and safe closure of that fire. We extend our thanks to everyone who has been working tirelessly to keep our communities safe, and we thank the residents of our communities for being patient and resilient at a very stressful time. And again, I would like to thank the Premier and the government and Minister Hallman for the contributions that they're making. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Just want to quickly check in. I think I may have misheard. Did you say 90 meters of rainfall or 90 millimeters?
No, 90 millimeters.
Okay, thank
sorry.
you. Just wanted to make sure that was correct. And now let me introduce Warden Penny Smith with the Municipality of the District of Shelburne. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Our community members have shown such great strength and courage during these times, and we thank them for their patience and efforts to support one another. Those who have returned home and will be returning home in the coming days need to be aware of first responder vehicles and refer to the Government of Nova Scotia's website for resources pertaining to well water safety after a wildfire and safely re-entering your home after a wildfire evacuation. We want to give special thanks to the Government of Nova Scotia for waiving well water testing fees for residents returning to their homes. We appreciate the province recognizing the stress these residents have undergone over the last week. Alleviating the financial stress of paying for well water testing will have a positive impact on our residents. As the wildfire remains active and out of control, residents, even those who have returned home, should remain prepared to evacuate on short notice. Community members must continue to follow province-wide restrictions and stay out of evacuation areas until local authorities advise them to return. This is a reminder that the lifting of the province-wide ban on travel and activities in the woods does not apply to Shelburne County or evacuation areas. Please continue to keep one another safe and reduce wildfire risk. As we enter a new phase of the wildfire, we understand community members will have and do have plenty of questions. Our team at the Municipality of Shelburne and the team at the Municipality of Barrington are working day in and day out to ensure the logistics and every aspect of a safe return and recovery are considered. You will hear more from us in the coming days about this phase and the coming phases of recovery. Thank you again to everyone for your tremendous efforts. We are Shelburne County strong.
You are indeed. Thank you, Warden. Now let's go to the first of our three amigos with DNNR, Scott Tingley, Manager of Forest Protection. Go ahead, Scott.
Hi, thanks, Heather, and good afternoon, everybody. Just a quick update for me. Happy to report no new wildfires since yesterday. So we're still sitting at 210 wildfires for the season. Still have 5 active fires in the books, and one of those being out of control in Shelburne. So our total estimated burned area for this season is 26,680 hectares. And yeah, I'll turn it over to the Daves for the specific location updates.
Great, thanks, Scott. Let's check in first with Dave Rockwood for the Shelburne event. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, hi this afternoon. So down here, we have the Lake Road fire is operating under control. We are patrolling that. We still have some crews out there working away, digging out, making sure all the hot spots are found, located, so we can get to a conclusion on that one. The Pubnico wildfire is under control, and that one has actually been handed back to its local district, so that'll be being overseen by the Tuscott office, so it won't be under our control anymore. And then the Barrington fire is still classified as out of control. We have had, as Eddie indicated, there's been 90 millimeters of rain over the last few days, which is definitely helping us out greatly down here. But we're being vigilant, and we're still working our crews in the woods. They've been working a good 12-hour days over the last few days, And we have dropped our numbers a little bit just because we have lost that one wildfire. We don't need the crews over there anymore. So and as well as cycling some crews out. So we're at 143 natural resources personnel. We're sitting with 49 heavy equipment. So we've kept all of that. And yeah, we're still sitting at that 24,980 hectares. So we're digging in. We're going to make sure everything is absolutely safe for the people, and we'll continue working.
Sounds good. Let's go now to Dave Steeves, Public Information Officer for the Tantallon event. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. This will be a relatively brief update for Tantallon. The overall is we got lots of water, which is a good thing. We were able to reduce some of the folks that we had on site. So we're down to 25 Department of Natural Resources staff on site and 1 HRM representative. Basically their role in this is if we require anything above and beyond what we have, extra manpower or machinery or apparatus, we can get that with a phone call. Like I said before, things are wet, but we are continuing to focus on any type of structure related issues. We have crews that are still walking the perimeter, and right now we're actively concentrating on the first 100 feet in all the way around the perimeter. Once that has been secured, we will continue to work our way inward. Things are progressing here nicely, but again, there's still much work to do. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Dave. Sounds like we're making good progress there. Good time to check in with Elizabeth Kennedy, Director of the Water Branch with Department of Environment and Climate Change. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you and good afternoon. One of my responsibilities at Environment and Climate Change is drinking water. So thanks so much for having me here today to speak for a moment to the people who are returning to their homes and have wells. Wildfires can damage your well or impact your drinking water if you're on a well. And some of the risks that people might be concerned about are from fuel tanks that were damaged, or even just from the ashes of materials that were burned, being washed into the soil, eventually making it into well water. We're hearing a lot from people who want to know how they can make sure their well is safe when they return home. If you are returning home after evacuation, our main message is that you should be using an alternative water supply, bottled water, or boiled water for drinking water until you're able to flush and disinfect and test your well to know it's safe. There are detailed steps for flushing and disinfecting using the link in the Using Your Well After a Wildfire fact sheet found at novascotia.ca/alerts. There's a number of links in there that'll be really important for people, and it's really important that you follow the steps and take the time to do that properly. It involves putting disinfectants directly into your well, distributing it through your plumbing, flushing it out to your lawn after you're done, but you'll have to wait at least a few days before you can sample your water and get a reliable result. So we really want people to know that. After you've flushed and disinfected your well properly, the only way to know your water's safe is to test. So we're making it easy, convenient, and free to test your water, as the Premier mentioned. Our team at Environment and Climate Change are working now to get well water testing kits into your hands, and all fees to test your water will be paid for by the province. So please take advantage of this and get your well tested if you're returning home and you've already completed your disinfecting process. So starting tomorrow, Tuesday, June 6th, we'll be starting to distribute well testing kits at the fire station at 2050 Hammonds Plains Road, and also at our Environment and Climate Change offices in Bridgewater and Yarmouth. We'll soon be posting additional locations and information on how to get test kits at novascotia.ca/alerts, and please go there for information. So again, if you live in an area where there is fire damage, it's important that you assess your well. Even if there's no damage near you, it's still important that you walk your property and confirm that there's no damage to your on-site system, to your fuel tank, or to your well. If all is well and you've addressed any damage to any of those systems, then the main risk is that your water has actually sat in the well and plumbing for a while, or your well might have depressurized if your power was out. So that's why it's really important that you flush and disinfect your well for safety. And like I said, the instructions are there on that well, Using Your Well After a Wildfire fact sheet. So in the meantime, if you have a well and were impacted by the fires, please use bottled water for drinking. Flush and disinfect so that you can take those reliable water quality results and then test. And know that disinfection and preparation of your well can take several days. So once you receive your results, you can also get help interpreting your results using our online tool through the Test Your Well Water page. That's at novascotia.ca/well water testing. And you can also call the local environment and climate change office at 1-877-9-ENVIRO. As well, if you have any unusual smells or colors in your well after you do the flushing and disinfection, or you have knowledge of potential contamination nearby, additional specialized testing might be needed for you to make sure your water is safe, and you can contact us at our local offices or 902-424-2547 as well.
Great. Thank you, Elizabeth. Lots of important information there. Now let's move on to check in with Bill Lawler, Atlantic Director of Government and Strategic Relations with the Canadian Red Cross. Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you very much, Heather, and thank you, Premier Houston and Province of Nova Scotia for that matching announcement. Certainly, our experience has shown that when those types of announcements take place, and certainly when you add it to the federal matching program, that it will drive further interest to provide some support, much needed support to those who have been so devastatingly impacted throughout the province. To date, we have registered 8,265 households, just over 20,548 individuals are comprised of those households. Again, that's throughout the entire province. If you haven't yet, we don't want to miss a single household. So please, if you know of someone who has been evacuated from those mandatory zones, please have them reach out to us. They can do so still online at redcross.ca/Atlantic Wildfires, or they can call us 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 1-800-863-6582. We cannot provide the support that you may require until you register with us. We also have a number of locations where we are remaining to be activated, and once people are registered, if they need some extra support, if they're having difficulty receiving their electronic funds transfer, if they need to receive it by another means, whether that be by prepaid card or check, we have people in person who can provide that much needed support to you at this time. Our focus as currently is to support those with immediate relief on behalf of the province, and will continue to do so as long as we are requested to. To date, we have raised $1.7 million for our appeal for those impacted by the wildfires, and that, of course, does not include any of the match announced today. We also commit as a Red Cross to work with the nonprofit sector at large. It's going to take a whole community, to say the least, to help provide support to those who have been impacted. And just prior to this press briefing, in fact, met with members of the nonprofit sector to work together and figure out how can we collaborate to make sure that there are no gaps, or worse, providing more focus on a certain aspect of this operation. We want to make sure that we're providing as comprehensive support to those who have been impacted as possible. And we know the needs are great, and we know they're not short term. So we will continue to, that's our commitment to you as a province and those who have been impacted, to work with everyone to make sure that real cooperative approach has been taken. Thanks, Heather. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And finally, let's check in with our resident warning prepared meteorologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada, Bob Robichaud. What's the good word on the weather, Bob?
Once again, en français, je vais faire mes commentaires en anglais, mais s'il y a des questions en français, je peux prendre les questions en français. So the weather continues to help us to act in our favor. Today, we have that area of low pressure that's stalled offshore, and it's producing some cool, moist northeasterly winds across the entire province with some rain across most areas. They mentioned, the Daves mentioned the rainfall earlier. Yes, we did get about 90 millimeters in the Shelburne area. A little farther up the coast, we got as much as about 120, and even in excess of 120 in the Kedgie area. So certainly a lot of rain. Looking at the western end of Halifax, where we have a couple of different rain gauges. Again, some are a little over 60 millimeters, some are slightly below. So again, lots of rain there. We will continue to get rain over the next few hours. There's some heavier rain moving onshore. That will help as well. Into tomorrow, that area of low pressure is going to drift north of Nova Scotia, and that more organized, widespread rain is going to start to kind of peter out and switch to more scattered shower type activity. And that will continue again for a few days after that. Once we get into Thursday and Friday, we should be looking at, again, some scattered showers. However, once we get into the weekend, things are going to, that's going to be pretty much it for the rain for a few days. So that's what we're going to be monitoring going into the weekend and into next week, is the potential for any kind of extended dry period there as well. In terms of air quality, again, all the sensors are indicating fairly good air quality. But we are maintaining those special air quality statements for the time being for Yarmouth and Shelburne County, and we continue to review those. So back to you, Heather.
Thanks, Bob. We'll keep singing in the rain for the next couple of days. We'll now move on to questions from media in the time that we have available. We'll stick with our one question, one follow-up format. And again, if you could indicate who your question's for, that would be a big help. We'll start with CTV and Heidi Pshachik. Go ahead, Heidi. Heidi? We'll come back to Heidi. Let's move on to CBC's Blair Rhodes.
I don't know, I guess this question would be for Warden Nickerson. You mentioned an Alberta task force. I was wondering if you could explain what the role this task force will play.
Question? Can you repeat the question? I didn't hear you well.
Oh, sorry. I'm just wondering, you mentioned a recovery task force from Alberta. I was just wondering if you could explain what this task force will be doing.
It's a task force that is experienced with recovery of our community assets and building us and getting us back to normal. Our housing, the mental health of people, just bringing us back to a normal situation.
Blair, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, my follow-up would be to, I guess, Elizabeth Kennedy. We've heard a lot of the water testing kits for wells. Has there been any concerns expressed about municipal water supplies? I note that the Pockwalk supply for Halifax was in the evacuation area. I don't know what the situation is in Barrington and Shelburne, but I'm just wondering if there's been any concerns or thought given to those water supplies.
Okay. Would you? Yeah. Would I?
Who's going to take that question?
So I can answer on behalf of HRM, Heather.
Perfect.
So obviously, we work very close with our partners at Halifax Water, and they have a spot in our EOC at all times. And I know they continue to do testing because they were without power, running on generator, and they completed testing right up until and including yesterday. And I know they will continue to do so, and there's been no bad results.
Great, thank you for that. Moving on, we'll go to Global. Megan King, go ahead, Global.
Hi there, thank you. Actually, my questions have been answered, so I appreciate it.
Okay, love it. Moving along, we'll go to the Halifax Examiner, Tim Biscay. Go ahead, Tim.
Hi, good afternoon. I have a question. I think it's either for Dave Steves or Erica Fleck. It's about Friday night, or rather Sunday night, when the fire started and the evacuations were ordered. I can't help but notice that the evacuation zone ended at St. George Boulevard in Kingswood, and that past there are fire hydrants, where in the newer subdivisions to the west, there are not fire hydrants. Was that the determining factor in making the evacuation zone?
Yep, I'll take that. No, that had no factor whatsoever. So even if there's no city fire hydrants, we still have dry hydrants that are connected to a local water source. And even if there isn't, we have tankers shuttling water. So that had no effect on the alerts at all or the evacuation area.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Tim.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused about the dry hydrants. On the city's open data set, I see one dry hydrant in Indigo Shores and one in the Hammond Plains area, and then one in Stillwater, but I don't see any others out there. So could you just elaborate on that a little bit?
So I don't have the map in front of me where the dry hydrants are to confirm those locations. And I'm not sure. We continue to update and install new dry hydrants every year, usually 3 and 4 a year throughout HRM. So if you'd like to send a query in through HRM, we'd be happy to follow up with you on that.
Thank you.
Great. I'm going to circle back and check in with Heidi Protachik at CTV. Heidi, are you back?
Yes, sorry about that. Can you hear me now? Jeez.
Yes. Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
Zoom. Just wondering about housing, and I don't know who can field this, but how soon can you have housing available for people who are going to be out for an extended period of time?
Thanks, Heidi. I guess what I'd say is there's a, that was one of the asks we had of the federal government was for support with modulars. We're working on modulars. There was already a lot happening in the housing file. I think previous to these disasters here, we talked about maybe securing modulars for healthcare workers. So those kind of supply chains were already being reviewed. So as soon as we can, we'll have that. We understand the urgency. We understand the existing housing crisis that's been here, and this is kind of going to add to that for sure. But it's a big focus. I know Minister Lawler and his team are working closely with the municipalities on this to see what we can do, but we understand the urgency.
Heidi, go ahead with your follow-up.
Sure. Just wondering about finances as well. I mean, for some people, they're still waiting for money from their insurers. $500 doesn't go too far if you're talking about 10 to 14 days or more out of your home. How soon can people access other monies?
Yeah, I think certainly, as we look through this event, there will be some insured aspects and some uninsured aspects. So certainly on the insured aspects, I know that when I was up at the Comfort Center in Canada Game Center, I definitely saw insurance personnel on site right there trying to work with people and help them through this. I think the insurance industry across the province is trying to mobilize quickly. So look, if you have insurance, work with your insurance company. That's the best place. That's the best place to be. For those that are uninsured, obviously, as a province, we'll try to do what we can. The 500 was an immediate thing that was earlier this week. As we get into the second week, we'll look at the needs and we'll respond to the needs as best we can.
Okay, moving along, we'll go to Radio Canada with Océane Doucette. Go ahead, Océane.
Hi, thank you. Not sure who can answer this question, but I'm wondering for an updated number on the amount of evacuees that have been done in Shelburne County and how many have been allowed back since the beginning of the evacuations.
I don't have that number to hand. We can get that number from the officials, but I think yesterday between the evacuation orders that were lifted in Tantau and over the last couple of days in the Shelburne area, I think it was about 11,000 people had their evacuation orders lifted, but there could be a more recent number. But we're happy to work with the folks at EMO and get that number for you.
Thank you.
Océane, do you have a follow-up?
No, thanks.
Great. Moving along, we'll go to CTV's Lindsay Armstrong. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Thank you very much. A question for Dave Rockwood. I understand aircrafts have been grounded in the Shelburne area due to the weather. Do you anticipate weather will soon allow for the use of aircrafts, or is the firefighting effort shifting away from the use of aircrafts?
So at this time, I don't anticipate the use of the bomber aircrafts anytime soon, or the need. We've had 90 mils of rain in that. But we'll be switching to more of an observation recon tactics with our helicopter fleet and the rental fleet that's in the area. We've been getting great assistance from the local Coast Guard station that's been assisting us greatly with some infrared tactics and others. But we still will have boots on the ground for a while now. So we'll be using the aircraft to sling gear into the woods and sling gear out of the woods, and then to also potentially move crews throughout this very large area.
Lindsay, go ahead with your follow-up.
Thank you. This time for the Premier, following on Heidi's question. Premier, when you're talking about further assistance as needed, I just want to clarify, are you talking about additional funds? Obviously that 500 is for evacuees, including those who've lost homes. Will there be further financial support specifically for those who've lost homes?
I think what we'll do on that is that we want to do what we can to help people for sure. So the first point on those would be the insurance company. People would have insurance on that for in most cases, hopefully in all cases for, but definitely that the insurance company is the first point of contact for people on that. If there are uninsured events, I mean, we'll try to work with the federal government. This would be around the Disaster Financial Assistance Program. We know that when we had Fiona, there were some people who didn't have home insurance for that event, and it had a devastating financial impact on them. So we tried to work with the federal government around the the parameters of that program. It's really important that program that we work within that program. So look, I can't stress enough, work with your insurance company. Don't hesitate, get in contact with your insurance company, and your insurance company is the right place for those that have insurance. And if for those that don't, I mean, reach out and we'll try to do what we can within the parameters that we have as well.
Moving along, we'll go to Global's Sky Bryden Blom. Go ahead, Sky.
Thank you. This question is for the Premier. Just taking a look at the Natural Resources Canada map, looking at the wildfire season, it's predicting an above average season here for most of Nova Scotia over the summer. I'm just wondering, what messaging do you have for Nova Scotians about not letting their guards down?
Yeah, I think the above average firefighting season has certainly materialized here in this province, where, as Scott said, 210 fires so far this year, and very early in the fire season. The fire season, I think, would extend kind of into almost September, October. So we're very early in the fire season, and we've already had, I think, any way you look at it, twice as many fires so far as we would in a normal season, probably more than twice. So I'm hopeful that this has been, kind of educational experience for a lot of Nova Scotians all around the province in the dangers of forest fires, the need to be safe, be smart in the woods. So we have in the province the Check Before You Burn website. People should always be referring to that Check Before You Burn website. It shows the risk in your part of the province, and it's updated every day, I think, at 2:00. So I would say be very mindful of forest fires, be very alert to the dangers and how this has been. Look at the devastating impact of these fires, and each one of them in some way, shape, or form, they're all still under investigation. But I believe each one of them started by a person. So don't be that person. Be smart in the woods. Be very careful as we move forward through the fire season.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Sky.
I'm also wondering if we could see further bans perhaps happen over the summer if the risk becomes high in terms of going into the woods, crown lands, forests, and that sort of thing in order to mitigate that risk.
Yeah, sure, it's entirely possible. The burn ban itself, the Check Before You Burn website, many times during the summer that will have no burning. That will be, in certain areas, just depending on the conditions, that will be just no burning. That's happening right now. We have a province-wide burn ban as a result of the situation we have. But during the summer, there'll be other times when there's a province-wide burn ban, just because of the conditions in the various areas. So that would be common every year. So I just always please check the Check Before You Burn website. That's a great resource we have. That's been there for, I think, a few years. That's been live now, so you should be checking that. In terms of movement in the woods, obviously, severity of the situation, the conditions we had this time, and particularly with massive fires burning in different parts of the province, stretching our resources thin. This was something that was necessary. The straight out travel ban was necessary given the exact situation we were in over the course of the summer. If DNRR or other officials come to me and express concerns about what's happening, then certainly we would act on their requests as we have to date. So we defer to the experts on that, but the burn ban and the travel ban that we have right now are as a direct result of the devastating situation we have in the province. If they need to do it again, we'll do it again.
And we'll check in finally with Acadia Broadcasting, Joe Thompson. Go ahead, Joe.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
So my question is for Dave Rockwood. I'm just wondering if you can provide an update on the fire at the dump that the Premier mentioned that's kind of holding up opening up Highway 103.
Yeah, so I'm going to defer that back to the municipality. That's a municipality issue. We are assisting by providing heavy equipment, but that's a municipal, it's within our fire area, but we're wildland firefighters and we don't deal with the municipal side of it on the dumps.
Warder Nickerson, did you want to take that?
Thanks, Heather. Great question. So there is a fire that was started by the Barrington Lake Fire out at our municipal landfill. It isn't a dump. It is a municipal landfill. Anywhere from debris from houses. There is some lobster pots and rope that is stored there for transport out of the community to a licensed facility. So it's on fire, and we have experts in from various parts of the country to excavate that and get a significant amount of water on it to try and stomp it out in the next few days. And I'd like to say thank you to DNR for the assistance, and certainly appreciated.
Joe, go ahead with your follow-up.
Yeah, my follow-up is for the Premier to kind of piggyback on Sky's question a little bit. I'm wondering what lessons the province might have learned and the officials in order to possibly prevent fires of this magnitude from happening again. You know, we're so early in the fire season, and there's a good chance that this is the last fire we'll have this season.
Thank you. I mean, there'll be a full debrief on, you know, how these fires originated, and certainly on the response to them. But you know, really, when you have fires like this started by people, you know, some just started by stupidity, some started by carelessness, some just an accident, right? It could be any one of those things. So the message really is, I mean, you can put as many rules in place as you want, but you know, there's always going to be there's always a risk that somebody will do something stupid. So this is why we're sending the message about, you know, be careful with flicking your cigarettes, be careful with your backyard bonfire, all of these things, right? So and when you need help, you reach out for help. So, but in terms of their response, I mean, I haven't seen anything that suggests in any way that the response was lacking, was slow, any of those things. In fact, everything I've seen from the response of our firefighting teams and our communities has said that the response was just people stepping up as quickly as they can and giving it their all to fight them. And I'll go back to what's been said a number of times is we have forest fires in this province. We have a lot of forest area. And there will be forest fires, but we do what we can to mitigate the number and to mitigate the risk. And when we have forest fires in this province, the response has been spectacular. 210 fires so far this season, and how many have we been talking about? A handful, because every other one has been dealt with very, very quickly by the teams. And this is the same. It's a tragic set of circumstances right now that got us to where we are. But we'll do a full debrief. I mean, the personnel we have that respond to these fires, the incident commanders on these fires, that they're some of the best in the entire country. We have incredibly talented people responding. We have 4 helicopters who respond with air cover as needed. And I mentioned the other day, one of the helicopters was doing a 50-second turnaround, 50 seconds to load that thing with water, drop it, go back and load it again. And they did that for an entire shift. Like, can you imagine the mental and physical anguish on that pilot doing that nonstop? But they did it, and they do it in this province day in and day out when they're called on. So we have incredibly talented firefighting response in this province. But you know, these are major incidents, and every major incident deserves a serious, committed debrief, and that'll happen in this case here too.
Thank you for that, Premier. That concludes today's wildfire update. I want to thank all of our participants, but I also want to thank all the Nova Scotians that have taken the time to join us for this update. Thank you, each and every one of you. Be safe.
Thanks, Heather.